begets hate. So I want you, American News Network, majornewsnetwork.com online. Well, our allied drills have kind of either spooked or perturbed little Kim Jong-il up in North Korea, because he shot off over 21 missiles just here lately. And is it an act of World War III? Because a couple of them actually went over the line. You heard me. So he's pretty pissed, and you can see that here right behind me. And missiles are flying. If we want to do joint military exercises and keep them up, then he's going to continue to shoot. But understand there's a weird alliance that's going on between North Korea and Iran and Russia, and it involves nuclear warheads. And I got new intel for us here at home, and here's what it is. Apparently, the intel out on the street is Pakistan and their new prime minister was talking to Zelensky on nuclear materials. They have a new nuclear alliance, and that could be the foundation of this dirty bomb we've been hearing about. The other thing I'm going to bring up is Liz Truss, and how Putin has evidence on her talking basically with Anthony Blinken within minutes after the Nord Stream pipeline, and they have this because they cracked her iPhone. So this is very much like a Hillary Clinton thing. So while this lady was in office for her 44 days, she almost starts World War III. Here I thought it was France. And that's why when I did Smoking Gun, Macron immediately was like, hey, I'm not a part of this NATO thing, nothing. And he probably knew maybe that sub could have been put into it. So these are what are suspected as being underwater UK drones that they used in the Black Sea here recently, and then also the same ones that Liz Truss did. And so this puts the United Kingdom on blast with Russia. And it's good for America, because I would rather it us not be in the hot seat. But keep in mind, you don't have a big military, and now's not the time to go against what most, holy books say are good books. It's like, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. So if you live by the gun, you'll die by the gun. If you live by the pen, you might live by the pen. And if you live by love, you might live by love. So anyway, right now these governments, and I want to address this, I think I've discovered something, and that's this. The Brazil election looks just like the election up here in the States. They're having riots out on the street and everything else. And, here it's like, well, let me try to put it up here if I can. Brazil election. Okay. What is happening up down there is that they are pretty 100% sure that there's been some sort of computer error. No kidding. Does this smell familiar? So what I'm getting at is, after the fall of the United States, I think the way in which China is actually taking over other countries is through pandemonium, through sickness, and through voter manipulation. So I'm going to just call it out like I think. And I believe that this Chinese influence has spread to countries such as Australia, the United States, now Brazil. And so we've got to get on top of voting. I'm on the verge, ladies and gentlemen, of actually starting a new corporation, and then adopting our Constitution, and adding in term limitations for every position. That's executive, legislative, and judicial. And then same thing with the military. You can't be a career military person either. So that we can protect and not recreate the travesty of justice that we have created. I'll remind you that we the people, those words were given by the Iroquois woman that's on top of the Capitol that we have there today. And this government is in violation of the Constitution of the United States. And instead of addressing our right to bear arms and everything else, I'm just going to read the first chapter here, and I want to say, is this government in violation of this? And let's see, so Brazil's got their thing going on. So what I'm going to just play while Brazil's thing is going on is just some other type of stuff. And keep that in mind, and that's about we the people here in the United States. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. That's another way of saying ensuring peace. Well, how is our peace been here? And now that you know that the Chinese influence has affected the media in places like Chicago, in places like Oregon and Washington, places like California, don't forget Nancy Pelosi was an ambassador to China. This is probably what got it in there, and there's no way California would have voted for her, period. She has that on lockdown through fraud. Now, if you want to say peace and tranquility, folks, in the last 30 years, I've seen California go from beauty to an absolute shocking armpit of society. We have homeless people out there, not hippies. And if these diseases were real, they themselves would have decimated our cities. But we don't invest. Our government doesn't invest even one red cent in their showers, in their lodging. Do you realize that we could have given every homeless person in America a house, property, and it would have been cheaper than fighting this war in the Ukraine? And I want you to think about that. We could have taken care of everybody here at home. There's enough land, and love begets love, and hate begets hate. So I want you to stand with me on these new corporations as we evolve from the wars that they're creating to decentralize the government and bring it back into our control. And then I'd like for university deans and teachers of the year to take part in this, people that actually have been elected by our children. But the world is at war. Brazil's about to be lost to the same type of fraud that Mike Lindell and I exposed at the Moment of Truth Summit. And we showed if the computers did a very tiny little program in there at the very final hour that would set the votes to 49-51, that in the bylaws of most countries, that's such a narrow margin of victory that it doesn't require investigation. Did you know that? Again, so if it's flipped to 49-51 in the final hour under the bylaws. Now, who would know about these bylaws? You think Jackwagon Joe would? Do you think he probably helped implement them with Nancy? See, they've had this on lockdown for years, folks, and as such, we are the pawns of society. And they're robbing us every day. I want you to know, everybody we abandoned in Afghanistan, they're getting hired from both sides to go fight in the Ukraine by Putin today. That is what's going on. But peace and tranquility in the United States to provide the common defense. Common defense would be a border. Are we providing a border? No. Okay. Promote the general welfare. Again, instead of funding the war in Ukraine, we could have actually promoted the general welfare of everybody on our streets. And if our government was smart, which they're not, they would see that God himself has provided opportunities for us to jump into countries and help them out immediately. And what do I mean by that? Well, behind me, you can see that in Iran, they've been protesting for over 40 days because there's a radical group of extremists that are on the Shiite side. And it's not the Quran, it's the third after it, but they want to kill women that don't want to wear a hijab. And it's going on, and it's going on, and they're setting them on fire. Now, if America was smart, I mean, if I was in charge of this country, I'd use this as an opportunity, actually, to go in there. And the other thing that was, I'd use this as an opportunity to free Iran from religious radicals and then help Israel at the same time. Now, our administration always has pretty much, in my opinion, we create lies to us, and so here's one that's coming out. A big lie that's going on right now is that Iran, the United States government is saying that we have intel says that Iran plans to attack Saudi within 48 hours. That's what we're saying. Saudi Arabia has shared intelligence with the United States that Iran is planning an attack on the kingdom. An AP report citing 3 U.S. officials claimed that the attack will take place soon or in the next 48 hours. The U.S. is now on high alert after the threat situation in Saudi. The report comes amid Iran facing U.S. anger for allegedly sending weapons to Russia, aiding Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. It also comes at a time when Iran has blamed the West for fueling anti-hijab protests in the Islamic Republic, and that's the news. So, again, I would use this as an opportunity to help the women of Iran, because if you have any Iranian friends in America, which all of us do, the women are beautiful and very intelligent, and the country actually used to have freedom until we took out the Shah of Iran in 1979, and ever since then there's been a cesspool of religious radicals that have taken the kingdom back, in my opinion, quite a ways back, to the point where women just don't have the freedoms in which they should have. Now, the thing that I question is the fact that the U.S. has any sort of intel with Saudi. And the reason is because if you paid attention to what I was saying basically a couple of weeks ago, well, MBS does not like Joe Biden. He's come out publicly and he said, America, I don't want to do business with you. If you continue to do business with Joe Biden, I like Trump, but I question Biden's mental acuity. You can find this on YouTube. All you have to do is the mental acuity MBS, but understand something. The Saudi prince, he is not the king. His dad is the king, but because his dad was aging, because his dad's mental acuity was going down, he became the prime minister, okay? And he became the prime minister while his dad's the king. So this is not information that Saudi does, but folks, we're losing a close ally that we've had that controls OPEC. And for 2 very good reasons. One, they think that Pete here is that, and they're not into it. The Holy Quran forbids it. To an extent, you got to at least be 12 or 8. Something like, I don't know what the case may be, but let me tell you, the king, he was like Jamal Khashoggi. If you even want to talk about that guy, he was like, yeah, I chopped him up and that's that. And if you talk bad about the king of Saudi Arabia, that's what's going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. Unfortunately, Putin and MBS have created a bromance, and because of that, OPEC Plus is in existence. And we're low in diesel fuel, so actually it's got me to thinking what I could do for my country is to create diesel fuel manufacturing facilities throughout the United States. Diesel fuel is actually easy to create, especially with crops. Rudolf Diesel, who invented the diesel engine, said, folks, you can run this off of petroleum, but you can also run it off of vegetable oils. And there are certain oils that abundantly produce much more oil than other oils, such as industrial hemp. Believe it or not, it yields 800 to 1,200 gallons per acre. And with the use of industrial hemp and its byproduct being soap, we can save this. We can save this starting immediately. Don't go on the CBD or the THC route, no. I had a good friend named Jack Herer. He wrote a book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I don't know if you've heard of that strain. It's won probably 52 world awards. But Jack and I were great friends, and he thought, Chris, truly using it as energy through agriculture, that might be the answer. And I'm telling you, it is the answer. And so if we go natural gas and convert all of our gasoline engines on natural gas, and we go energy through agriculture, we don't have to succumb to the demands of Saudi. Now what they did, folks, is they came in here and they purchased 90% of our refineries. They own them. They can slow them down. They can shut them. They control our EPA because we can't open new ones. So I'm going to do that, and you're going to help me, because we are going to make America great again. And it is not difficult. It's a matter of application of information that we have. We don't have to invent things. What this administration is doing is they're creating wars because they know that they shouldn't be in office. Okay? They're illegitimate. And they've made our money illegitimate. And so what gives them the right to regulate us when they can't take care of our borders or even our own people? And they're violating the first paragraph in the Constitution, so I'm going to go over it again. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Does it look like a union behind you with all these missiles flying overhead? Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Yeah. While we have more homeless people here than ever before. General welfare, huh? Not even a sandwich. And secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Tell me about the posterity of our homeless. Tell me, please. Because if you're in LA, there's nowhere you can even take a shower. Where are they supposed to go to the bathroom, and how sanitary is that for society? Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Folks, we need to stand up for the Constitution, and I think the easiest way to do that is to get a different corporation that controls the Constitution. The United States of America Incorporated is a bankrupt corporation, just in case you didn't know. So we could form a new corporation, get some new elected officials, kick all these con artists out, and then, like I said, term limitations on everybody in the military, every branch of service, and every politician from the top down, because out of 330 million people, folks, we have enough people to not repeat the same tragedy that's going on today. We don't need another Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Gavin Newsom fraud. You like Gavin Newsom wins against Larry Elder after 3.5 million on a recount. People are so upset in California they want a recount, but yet Gavin wins. Fraud. That's all it is, and the world knows it, and that's why these world wars are happening. And other countries see that it can happen, and that's why it just happened to Brazil. And so we're planning making up nuclear BS when we're probably behind it, folks. Now, I want you to know that this is 2 days ago, Putin decided to test out another ballistic type of missile, and this nuclear submarine carries 16 Iskandar-type nuclear packages, and they all have it. More importantly, I'll get into the Foxbat and another plane that he established and how they're all nuclear charged and ready in Belarus right now. But the main thing is that all of these missiles from Iskandar down, they take out, and Navy, be on high alert, they take out aircraft carriers and everything below. So frigate, destroyer, battleship, aircraft carrier, you guys are in high alert, high danger. These things are traveling at Mach 12. Okay? You have less than 25 seconds to determine the fate of everybody on your boat. Okay? Did you hear me? These things are traveling plus 9,000 miles an hour at you. Low altitude, high altitude, even evading radar. You have to be on high alert because of this. So Putin has put these on all of his submarines. He's on plan with what he said he was going to do. He announced the Iskandar and nuclear packages actually 90 days ago. If you pay attention to my show, I actually mentioned that. So he's on time. Sometimes he's a little early. The specs that say 2,000 kilometers are lies. It's more like 2,000 plus miles. We've been learning that all of his specs that he releases are usually half of what the truth is. So whereas America says we went to the moon with Stanley Kubrick, Putin doesn't really spread the empire of whatchamacallit to that extent, if you follow me. And so the submarines of this type are armed with these Caliber type of cruise missiles, and I want you to understand Caliber is something serious. He used Caliber recently to destroy the electric grid system to where now they don't have pretty much They're down to over 50% loss of power, no water in Kiev and all these areas. That's how he's going to take them over, basically, folks. He's going to go old World War II style because why? Well, come on, he's a KGB agent. Don't you think he studied World War II and how Hitler won and lost and how America won? Well, we won in America because we're the only ones that had the power, folks. Yeah. So now that's Vladdy P with MBS, and I hope you're getting the picture. Now, there's the other thing I wanted to come up with and tell you, and this is about Liz Truss. This is why we have almost one of the quickest in and outs. She wasn't, I could tell the Queen thought like, oh God, there's something that makes me sick about this woman, and it probably did the Queen under just by having to, pretend like she was blessing this child. So what did they catch Liz Truss in? And how is it damaging to the United Kingdom? Well, first of all, they hacked into her iPhone. So like Hillary Clinton, she was one of those people that thought that she could just, get a phone at Verizon or Sprint and use it like a normal person and not expect that Vladdy P and his agents might be able to get inside of it. Well, guess what, folks? They did. And they probably are tapped into most of our state politicians and Congress people. So how do the Russians know that the United Kingdom blew up the Nord Stream pipelines in partnership with the United States? Because Liz Truss used her iPhone to send a message to Secretary Blinken saying, it's done, a minute after the pipeline blew up and before anybody else knew. iCloud administration, your access rocks. iCloud administration access. In other words, holy cow. Do you realize sometimes, you older people, that when you do an update, it might just throw you back into public knowledge, and guess what? Whereas you might be a jackwagon about it, the KGB isn't. They know all about it. Yeah, give it to me. Okay, so they know, they have the cards. And again, this the only reason why I'm a little bit is because it wasn't us that did it, it was them. But them in cahoots with us. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be on a side that represents honesty and integrity, not some countries that are working with each other to destroy the environment. Think about that. Okay, because the only thing they accomplished was setting Vladimir Putin back in the north and destroying the environment, making the people of Helsinki and Finland and all that, and that entire ecosystem just is devastated. If not, certain species will be extinct, trust me, just from all of the oil and gas and all the pollution, just for an ecological stunt by the United States and Great Britain. Is it easy to get behind countries that pull this type of stuff? Because it isn't for me, and I'm from America. It disgusts me. It reminds me of the little thing that we had off the coast of Louisiana when Trump accused Obama of being born in Kenya. We surprisingly had an oil blowout in Louisiana, where then they even listened to Anderson Cooper on how to plug it, because they didn't want to plug it. They just wanted a smoke screen. Okay, Nord Stream is a smoke screen. That's why she's in and out of there, folks. My point is, what is Putin going to do to retaliate now to the United States and the United Kingdom? Now, here's some new news. This one came to me from Gravitas, and what it is the Russian senator claims that Pakistan are developing nuclear bombs. And there's a Russian senator actually out, and he's accused Pakistan of helping the Ukraine develop technology for nuclear weapons. And he says a Ukrainian specialist even traveled to Islamabad for the same. So this is the Ukrainian, or basically it's completely exposed, folks, and this is how they're going to do a dirty bomb, and this is why I want to say something. They put a puppet in Pakistan too. Okay, just like how America doesn't have Trump and we have Biden, they've got some puppet over there causing problems, just like we do, folks. Their leader is Imran Khan, but the world, he doesn't sit well with the world because he's behind his own country. Well, guess what? Everybody needs a president like Imran Khan and like Donald Trump, people that put their people first. This guy's doing a scandalous deal. I've even heard the news stuff on Enron.com. They're trying to get him for like a Rolex or donations. And it's like, please, that's the same negative Chinese media spin that you're going to hear just like from Donald Trump. And if you believe it, well, go on and believe it. And, you know, hate to tell you, you're being influenced by Xi Jinping and George Soros in tandem, but you are. See, now I want you to realize something when you watch me. I'm not selling you gold, not selling you silver, no commercials that I'm running, nothing, okay? So if you have problems with what I'm saying, please go somewhere else. I'm trying to spread information. A lot of times information is spread to me, but I want you to know what's going on in the world so that you can protect yourself. Stay vigilant, stay informed, okay? Now, this dirty bomb and this relationship between Pakistan and the Ukraine has been exposed. Folks, why are we even dealing with Zelensky? He's going to help end the world with Biden just by their, you know, relationship. Now, India comes out with some information which I thought was very interesting as well. So other countries are even completely aware of the fact that China, okay, this is India TV here behind me, but they're completely aware of the fact that China influences U.S. midterm elections. And so this is coming out at a time when, folks, I'm going to tell you something. Elon Musk found 3 fact-checking organizations that are tied directly into China, and guess what topics they cover? A lot of them were fake MAGA influencers, fake Chinese MAGA influencers, folks. I want you to think about that. The other one was abortion topics and gun control. And so through all these things, the Chinese have infiltrated in a weird way. I think Elon Musk should get a Nobel Peace Prize, because think about how heavy Facebook and Twitter and Instagram affected our voting system. And the fact that the Chinese have infiltrated into these markets and paid heavy cash to influence you at home and to create phony stories. Well, that's why we're going into World War III. And this all happened after, all of this World War III type of shift has happened after what? And I want you to think about it. It's almost like 48 hours after the implementation of Xi Jinping being a dictator. We should not allow it. I showed you the other day how he had one of his previous presidents removed. I bet he had him executed. Then there was another one there. This is like, imagine if Biden was sitting down and he has Bill Clinton stand up and then Bush stand up and then all the other ones, and they walk them off into a black room and you never see him ever again. So we're supposed to like work with Xi Jinping, folks. Here's what Xi Jinping has brought us, and I want you to think about it with just some initials. I haven't said anything about this. And the reason why is I'm going to just, well, I'll find some things to show you what Xi Jinping has brought to us. A lot of times you got to have like a picture that's worth of 1,000 words. So I'll just play this. How about? Now, the world's athletes of the world have been dropping like never before. And this is all courtesy of Xi Jinping. Okay? Cricket Rajesh Verma dies at 40. 32-year-old Argentinian rugby player walks from a coma. Now, here's a weird thing about it. This was broken out on Newsmax. It's hard to find it, but there's like a turnaround thing. People are starting to turn around in a circle, and then they completely lose their function or ability to walk, or they stroke, and then they die. And it was very scary seeing the video on Newsmax where like this one guy was at a train station and he turns around and he can't stop and he turns right into the train tracks. The blood clots are kind of amazing, and they remind me of something else. So I'm not using keywords here, but I want you to see that this is going on. They found high doses of nanotechnology put into something. And I'm going to show you how that stuff reacts and how it reacts to even cell phones. So this is, this is information you're not going to get from anyone else. And I want you to wonder if it's, and please, you can look at this here, because again, it's shocking as far as what's happening to the world now. Let me see here. Okay, this is another thing that I want us to be unaware of right now. So, with Elon Musk helping out the Ukraine, as you know, through Starlink, and then basically Elon said to Biden, hey, do you want to help me out? Because you guys aren't even paying me to help out the Ukraine. And then Zelensky was very rude to Elon Musk. Well, then Putin responded with, guess what? If you want to help them out and continue to, probably starting here in about a week or so, he's going to use Iskandar to just shoot him out of the sky. So that's what's going on right now as far as the satellite thing. So we're going to see Starlink probably move all their stuff since they just got a direct threat from Putin. And again, I want you to know that Elon Musk has completely, you know, found the Chinese connection inside. So graphene oxide, what is it? It's been found in a lot of injections. Okay, so what this is behind me is this is a cell phone, and this is a clump of graphene oxide. But look what happens as a phone call is made, and look at how this stuff starts to react, folks. So it moves around, and it actually looks folks exactly like the blood clots that I was seeing from the Newsmax article. But the fact that this graphene oxide shifts and shape shifts with with cell phone interference, and look at it, it looks like a creature of its own. It's very scary. Now this is what it does just with the cell phone near it. So I want you to think about, if this is inside of you, what it does. Now, I'm taking this, and again, you're not going to see this on any other news channel because they want to keep you blinded, and I'd rather not have you as a frog in a bowl. Now, what you're going to see here is somebody that was taking a lot of pills, and they just decided to crush up their pills and dilute it in water and put a magnet to it to see if there'd be any particulates in the pill that would come to the side of it. Lo and behold, you can probably Google this stuff, and here's the magnet that the person uses. And lo and behold, yes, this nanotechnology they discovered inside their medication. So are they putting this in the food? Now, this is what happens when you use frequency with graphene oxide. So any musical note will do this, but with 5G you have something that does this on an amazing scale. So here we have graphene oxide in a liquid state, and as a magnet is attached to it, you can see how it responds. So now imagine if that is inside of your cells, and it starts jiggling like that. Okay, would it cause you to stroke or to hemorrhage? Could it? If you had, now you're seeing a lot of it, but even on a molecular basis, it'll still spike out with that. And look what it does with frequencies and magnets. And again, I showed you what a clump of it would do just even in powder form. And so that gets me to just remember, this can be put in foods, and there's something else that has happened, but I'm going to try to put the pieces together for you so that you understand the war that we're fighting and how it started. And it started from China. It started with Jackwagon Joe getting put in. It was like a Dominion type of takeover, in my conspiracy theory type of opinion. Okay, and I would say it's these opinions are my own. I'll listen to what you do say, but understand, we didn't use mRNA at Texas A&M and decided not to because all the animals were passing away after about 1.5 to 2 years. So the fact that this could be applied to animals is outstanding. Now, furthermore, is this the result of it? Now, there was a video here where I'm showing it to you where we had over 2,000 cattle drop dead in the state of Kansas. But then in all the feeder lots this was happening. And I'm telling you folks, in the last 50 years, never seen it like this. What is the common denominator? Okay? What are you putting in their food? What are you putting in them? Folks, what are we eating? Okay? So I think this is something we got to pay attention to a little bit more closely. Again, you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. These are just my opinions. And I think that we need to watch our food. I think that when we see 10,000 dead cattle in a day and they try to say it's a heat problem, yeah, I'm going to say let's investigate this further. I don't believe you. I'd say you'd see one dead, not all of them. When you see all these athletes, same thing that happened, and they want to say the same thing, it's hard for me to not see that we're not fighting a war. Now, some statistic that I like to give out, which I'm going to give out to you. So from 2020 to 21, we had about a 6% increase in life insurance death casualty statistics. What if I was to tell you that this year from 2021 to 2022, it's gone up by 164%? And they can't figure out what the common denominator is. Okay, there is a common denominator here. I'm not going to say it again and again because things like that, it's kind of like mentioning, you know, the My Pillow guy's name, and it's kind of like, oh, the bots realize what that is and they just don't want to share it. So in fact, I'm talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and how to make them correctly so that you can, you know, just make the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for your kids, which makes me want to talk about the Bible that says, you know, if God even provided for the feathers on a bird to make them and to take care of him, don't worry about food. Don't worry about things. And even inside you in your temple, remember, God has given you everything that you need to survive. And the thing about viruses, and the reason why we're alive, is because usually when viruses mutate, they actually get weaker. Dr. John Campbell and a few other doctors have helped me expose this, and the reason why that happens is that if the viruses continue to get stronger, they would actually kill the host out, and then there would not be a way for the virus to replicate itself. So when the Delta variant came out and these other variants came out, they were what? Well, they were weaker. And who helped us out with that? God. But what are our governments into now? They're into viruses to control their citizens. It used to be, in my opinion, religions. Then it was races and religions. And now they want to control us and fear control us through what? Viruses. Nuclear war. Folks, that's a violation of the tranquility of our union. That is not ensuring promoting the general welfare, is it? No, it's promoting the general destruction. It doesn't just secure the blessings and liberty to ourselves, even our children. What are our children about to inherit? Think about this. So that's what I want you to think about. There's many things. Let's see if I've gone over all the topics that I wanted you to hear. And that is, well, the other thing is this. Is Joe Biden compromised? Yes, he is. And the world knows it. And he's compromised through Xi Jinping. Make no doubt about it. So here we have different senators and Ron Johnson and everything else, and what they're exposing is the Hunter Biden laptop, the scandal there, even the payout, everything has been exposed. They're just doing, folks, what's called basically motion to continues, you know, ways to stretch this out, try to transfer the venue to a judge that's friendly, things like that. So basically what? So they can get away with their crime. And it should not be permitted. So here we have Ron Johnson shredding Biden, and just basically on all the proof we have to the crack and the prostitutes with Hunter Biden. And, you know, we could go on and on about it, but remember, Biden is an illegitimate president. He's sitting in office. It's all because of computer fraud from Dominion. There is not 10 million Biden flags or Make America Great Again flags for Biden. They all say FJB, if anything, trust me. And so you see what happened when they got a Joe Biden in the United Kingdom, and her name was Liz Truss, okay? They had a buyback thing, and they immediately, like, you know, replaced her. And just in that short amount of time, she almost started World War III, or in fact did. Well, folks, we need the same thing right here, and it's called Amendment 24. And when fraud was discovered, Congress has the right to make that change. Now, I'm going to do another segment. It's on voting. It's on states. It's on people like Herschel Walker and Kerry Lake and Tudor Dixon and who we need to get behind. so that we can make this country great again. And remember, voting day is coming up here very soon. So if you haven't gone out and voted, we've got 7 days to go until then. But we have a compromised president. Russia has, in fact, blown up pretty much the entire infrastructure in the Ukraine. So they are without water and power. As it gets cold, we're going to see him completely control everything over there. You just watch. I don't want us to send one more dollar over there, but then again, it's not my decision. I don't even think Joe Biden knows whose decision it is, and I think we know that because he can barely read the teleprompter. They're not his own words. That's the thing that's very disturbing. If it was his own words that he was trying to read, we could tell. But it looks like some 8th grader just trying to read what his school teacher put up there for him, and that's scary. Who is that school teacher? Is it Dr. Jill Biden? Is it Obama? Is it Hillary? Is it George Soros? Whoever it is, we're in cahoots with crime that was exposed because Liz Truss used an iPhone. And if you haven't seen my episode on Poseidon, which is a 100 to 200 megaton torpedo missile, you should see it because they prepared it to take out Great Britain. And the other place they'll probably use it is Israel on the west coast, and then on the United States west coast so that they can avoid the jet stream of nuclear disaster. Those are basically the main things. There is information that makes Liz Truss look guilty. Again, the other thing is we have the Taliban and abandoned Afghan soldiers now working for Putin in the Ukraine. Showed you the graphene oxide on cell phones and in pills and in frequencies. In South Korea, we went from 17 missiles to 21, 22 missiles. And the other thing is, and I want you to know, and this is a pretty serious thing, it's almost like the SR-71. This is one of their Fox bats. But it was noticed that this missile that you see here was underneath of it. And so the MiG-31 fighter jets are in Belarus, but they are armed with a heavy package underneath. And that says 200 kilometers, try 2,000 miles. Again, everything that Putin says as far as what his stuff is capable of doing. And in my opinion, these are probably the same fighters that took out the electrical grid in the Ukraine. And so they just had to fly them over the Belarus border. And the range is the higher in the whole entire country. Pinpoint accuracy, Killjoy ballistic missiles, that's something else that they'll call a, an Iskandar that is fact guided from the sky. And this Killjoy, keep in mind, even though that they put a compliant, and I will say NATO compliant package on it, they could also put in every single one of these packages, if Putin wanted to remind us that they can in fact put a nuclear package on every single one of these. And the reason why I'm saying for our Navy be on alert is these were developed, folks, actually to destroy United States aircraft carriers. So Killjoy launched ballistic missile, and Ukrainian National Resistance Centers, they've seen them, but again, with the conventional small package, this is what decimated all the electrical grids and water grid systems, so that they're going to have a very difficult winter. Now, in my opinion, and it would almost be tactical, but remember, and this goes for the United Kingdom's Navy and the American Navy, guys, I'd be on high alert. Just remember, who is ever watching, I think instead of 2 eyes or 4 eyes, get 6 or 8. Watch this at all times. Be on alert. This is a package specifically designed for every ship out there in the sea. Now, supposedly the submarines have Iskandar in this, and this is on the thing, and every one of them can be nuclear, but even the standard package is rated to completely destroy an aircraft carrier. So those are those things, and again, you've seen a lot on this. I don't use a lot of keywords. In fact, nothing was related to the cows or the athletes, but Remember, after the hurricane, Joe Biden's major advice for us in America was to what? Go out and get a jib jab. And what's happening to all those people? Folks, he's working for China, Jackwagon Joe. And we used to have a hero. His name was Donald Trump. And when he was just a hero, it's because, remember, like, in these old movies when you'd see, people go out and you'd have a king and he'd be insulted, so he'd get his knight to fight on behalf of himself. Right? That, it's hard to find a leader that has balls that are literally the size of a room. So I'm gonna let you see this moment, folks. And what this moment is when we had a problem with North Korea, Trump went there himself. And I want you to stand in his shoes, because nobody does. Do you not think that there were not at least 20 to 100 snipers that did not have crosshairs on his head, heart, balls, knees? Do you not think that he risked his life to save the world? Because he did. And today, because we don't have a leader that has cojones, mis huevos en tu manos, we have a situation. And it was all ended here when this man behind me that loves our country so much, and his name's Donald J. Trump, he put his life on the line personally. There's no military people with this man walking behind me, is there? Now, why didn't the news media cover it this way, the way I am? I'd say, look, there is the President of the United States. He is walking by himself, putting his life on the line, offering a handshake of peace so that everybody in the world can live. I want you to think about how the world is today, because we don't have any leaders that have this kind of charisma, that don't have this kind of guts. This is why the world, even other leaders, miss Donald Trump. And Kim Jong-un was like, is that really the guy? Is that really Donald Trump? He goes, oh my God, it is. He's like, you know what? I got to go out and shake his hand, because I went to school in Europe, and I used to watch his boxing matches, and he was friends with Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson and all that, and I love basketball. And if our country was smart, we would have Dennis Rodman, actually, as our U.S. diplomat to North Korea. You heard me right. It is not a joke or a laughing matter. We would, if we were smart, we would use great Americans that other people love and admire. It would be the American way for real, folks, instead of some half-tarred lawyer that nobody's heard of. And look what happened. Then he walks him into his country and he's clapping, because you know what he's saying? Sir, you have big balls. I would have never done this, but sir, your balls are so huge that that this is cool, and can't believe you're doing it. And Trump's like, he never came back and said that he saved America here and he saved all of Asia. Biden were like wondering, well, what's America's position on Asia? And then our media is so stupid, because they're so young they don't know what our position is on Taiwan or Korea or anything, folks. Let me tell you, because you're obviously too young, you children, and you don't know it, even everybody in modern media today. But when we took over the Japanese empire, we took over their stuff. And that included Japan, Korea, Taiwan. We took it all over. It's kind of like when you win a chess game and you take out the queen. Well, what does the queen have? Oh, that's mine too. And then we made a promise to take care of it. Folks, Taiwan is our obligation. Folks, South Korea is our obligation. If you don't know that, you can ask guys like my dad that put their lives on the line when they fought the Korean War. And this guy right here behind me, he ended the scenario with a handshake. And it's what Jesus Christ would have done. Trump treated him the way he wanted to be treated. Instead of offering a missile, he offered what? A hand. A friendship. Love. People are recognized by the fruits of what they do. And this is a clear example of this behind me, where the fruits of Donald Trump and his actions, they brought world peace. Communication is all we needed to do, and communication through kindness and love opens doors. With Biden, where we have a whole bunch of scared lawyers trying to make money because they're crooked with their families, creating what? World wars, because that's how they make money. And if they keep it up, we need to decentralize governments. The reason why this works is because Trump is a normal American billionaire. And we were blessed with his mind and how he personally handled the situation. Folks, we're in the same situation today. Don't you think we need Trump back? Don't you think that we need to get Biden out immediately so that we can first have just Trump get back in office, so that we can have a relationship like you see behind me once again? And I'm sorry, if you got rid of Liz Truss, you might as well get rid of King Charles too, because he's a diphthong. And they were in cahoots with that sabotage. And please then put William and Kate in, so you have a rightful king, a rightful queen, with Sunak to run, and then go and have a fresh, clean start. And that might be the only saving grace that Putin will give you, so that he doesn't use Poseidon on you. And I want you to consider that. Do a full clean house. And King Charles, you know your deal with Camilla is unacceptable to the world. It might have been acceptable for King Henry VIII, but it isn't acceptable to the citizens of 2022. And you do have a very kingly son and his wife as well. Again, real leaders of the world, this is what it's like when you have real leaders. You have peace, you have communication. What are they talking about? He's like, I can't believe this guy's here. He goes, I still have about like 100 guys pointing their guns at you. He's like, Trump, you got some balls, friend. You got some balls. And because of that, we're going to end our scuffle. And just let this sink in, folks, because North Korea, because he hates Biden so much, does he hate this guy? No, he doesn't. He loves him. Who can't love Donald Trump? This is America's actual grandfather that loves us. He loves us so much, he put his own life on the line. He did that in Saudi Arabia. That's why MBS loves him. That's why little Kim Jong-il, the dictator, loves him. They love him because they know this guy's real and he puts his country first. We need to make America great again. The only way we're doing this is not an election, but we need to put back in the actual president of the United States. I would ask that we have an election of anything, or if anybody, for as to who will be his vice president, and it to not be Pence, because he's certified fraud, and he was so quick to do it. And then he's even run for president himself, which exposes his true motives. And leader he is not, says Yoda. Now, our government of today is a shim-sham show. And everybody has a lack of testosterone. And all of their wives are either the babysitters that took advantage of families, but they're not supermodels and princesses that know how to speak Russian. And the families of Trump and his children are outstanding. The family of Joe Biden is a disgrace to America. We go from crack whores and prostitution and incest to corporate chiefs that run design clothes and the people that do good things for even Israel. Ivanka, she was one of the first things that helped me notice Trump, and the reason is because I was like, if you raised a daughter like that, you can't be too dang bad, no matter what anybody says. And if you want to judge him for anything, judge him for his children. And look at the children he raised. Look at Don Jr., look at those kids. Look at Barron, and then look at Hunter. Again, a good fruit is recognized by what he creates. Just like how we created peace with Korea. And he created what? Hunter Biden. And he created what? World War III with Russia, North Korea. America, stand with me and stand strong in Trump. We need to just have you in there. We got a week to do some voting, but Congress, once you're in there, you need to have Amendment 24 And I was so surprised to find out that, even on Facebook, we got a couple million, on TikTok up to 25 million, and all these other people with RT. And again, you can use my broadcast on anything, because I'm just trying to get the word out there. So if you're a radio station, you need programming, feel free to talk about it, so that we can just build an awareness together, so that we can get our country back and make America great again. Again, my name's Chris Sanders. Please like, share, subscribe, follow. And thank you for joining me at the Major News Network, majornewsnetwork.com and American News Network.